Welcome back, everyone. I'm Amelia Harris, and I'm so glad you're here on my channel. Today, I want to share a story that changed my life, and it might change yours too. 5 months ago, I couldn't speak English well. I felt nervous in every conversation, but by using a few simple phrases, I made a huge leap in my fluency. And I'm here to tell you exactly how I did it. Imagine this. You walk into a meeting at work or a cafe with friends, and you feel the words just flow out of your mouth. No hesitation, no searching for the right word, just natural, confident English. That feeling of freedom is what fluency brings. It opens doors to friends, to jobs, to new cultures, and it all starts with the right tools. In this guide, we'll cover 5 powerful phrases that turbocharged my English. These aren't fancy, rare expressions. They're everyday phrases that helped me sound like a native speaker and build real, heartfelt connections. I'll walk you through why phrases matter more than isolated words, and then dive deep into each one, from asking for opinions to politely disagreeing. By the end, you'll have a clear, step-by-step plan to practice these phrases every day. Here's what to expect. Introduction. Why fluency matters and how key phrases make a difference. Understanding fluency. The simple definition, why phrases win over rote memorization, and how they create natural conversation flow. 5 phrases. Detailed, story-driven chapters for each phrase, complete with real-life examples, practice steps, and tips to master them quickly. Bonus tips. Extra ideas to keep you motivated and consistent. Conclusion, a recap, a final encouragement, and a question to spark your next practice. This guide is practical, easy, and effective. You don't need a perfect vocabulary or flawless grammar, just an open mind and a little practice. Whether you're 22 or 34, a student or a professional, these phrases will help you shine. So, are you ready to boost your fluency? If at any point you feel tired or overwhelmed, just pause the video, take a break, and come right back. Learning should never feel like a chore. Let's begin our journey. Chapter 1. Understanding fluency and why phrases matter. Fluency is more than knowing words or grammar rules. To me, fluency means speaking with ease and confidence. It's the feeling you get when your thoughts flow smoothly into another language. In 5 months, I went from stumbling over every sentence to chatting effortlessly with my friend Jason at the coffee shop. Many learners focus on vocabulary lists or grammar drills. Those are useful, but they don't always translate into real conversation. I could list 100 words, yet still feel stuck when someone asked me a simple question. That's because fluency isn't just about words. It's about connecting ideas. And the fastest way to connect ideas? Phrases. Phrases are chunks of language that carry meaning together. When you learn, how do you feel about? You're not just memorizing 3 words. You're memorizing a way to invite someone into deeper talk. That invite gives you both space to explore thoughts. It feels natural. It feels human. In my own journey, I noticed that once I learned key phrases, my conversations took off. I stopped pausing to think of each word. Instead, I reached for a phrase that fit the moment. Over time, I added more phrases, and soon I had a toolkit. Whenever I felt stuck, I pulled out a phrase, and the conversation kept moving. So why do phrases matter more than single words? Flow. Phrases link thoughts. They help you move from one idea to the next without awkward pauses. Context. Each phrase gives a clear function: asking, agreeing, clarifying, so you always know what to say next. Confidence. Using a full phrase feels stronger than guessing at a word. It shows you know how to handle real talk. Chapter 2, Phrase 1. How do you feel about? Let me take you back to the first time I used this phrase. I was in a meeting with my colleague Jason. He had just presented his idea, and I felt nervous to respond. Then I remembered my new tool. How do you feel about using a video to explain our project? Jason's face lit up. He began sharing his thoughts freely, and so did I. This phrase works like a gentle invitation. In a work context, you might ask your manager, "How do you feel about our quarterly goals?" It shows respect and interest. In a casual chat with friends like Emily, try, "How do you feel about trying that new cafe?" And in a formal setting, say a school presentation, you can ask your teacher, "How do you feel about the research findings?" The phrase fits every situation. Now, let's break down the steps I followed to master it. Step 1. Practice with friends or language partners. I met my friend Michael at the library and we role-played. I asked him, "How do you feel about learning English online?" He answered, and then he asked me back. We took turns. This practice built my confidence and made the phrase feel natural. Step 2. Write daily sentences using the phrase. Every morning, I opened my journal and wrote 3 sentences. For example, how do you feel about reading a news article in English? Writing helps your brain recognize the phrase as a single unit, not 3 separate words. After a week, I stopped hesitating. My pen flew across the paper. Step 3. Use it in real-life situations. Role play. One evening, I invited my neighbor, Sarah, for tea. I said, "How do you feel about talking only in English for 10 minutes?" She agreed, and we chatted about our day. The role play pushed me to use the phrase under real pressure, and I succeeded. Step 4. Record yourself and listen for fluency improvement. I used my phone to record my practice. I asked, "How do you feel about setting goals in English?" Then I listened back. At first, my voice trembled. After a few recordings, I noticed the shake was gone. Hearing yourself progress is motivating. Step 5. Combine with follow-up questions to keep conversation flowing. After asking, "How do you feel about?" always have a follow-up ready. For example, "What challenges do you think we might face?" Or, "Why do you feel that way?" These questions show interest and keep the talk alive. When my friend Diego answered, I asked, "Why do you feel that way?" And he shared a whole story about his weekend trip. Over time, this phrase became second nature. I stopped overthinking and started connecting deeply with people around me. It felt like unlocking a new level in a game. Each conversation opened paths to friendships and opportunities. Your turn. Try these steps over the next week. Practice with a friend. Write in your journal. Role play a scenario. Record yourself and add follow-up questions. Notice how each conversation becomes smoother. Chapter 3, Phrase 2. What do you mean by? I first discovered this phrase during a chat with my friend John. He was telling me about a new business idea. I did not fully understand his plan. So I asked, "What do you mean by the marketing strategy?" John paused and then explained clearly. That moment taught me how powerful this simple question can be. Using "What do you mean by?" shows you listen closely. In a group project meeting, you can ask your classmates, "What do you mean by the data analysis section?" It keeps everyone on the same page. In a social setting with Laura, you might say, "What do you mean by saying you love that movie?" She will share her feelings. In an interview, ask your manager, "What do you mean by collaborative culture here?" You'll get clear details and sound confident. Step 6. Practice active listening and use this phrase to show interest. When my cousin Kevin spoke about his travel plans, I gave him my full attention. I nodded, smiled, and then asked, "What do you mean by exploring off the beaten path spots?" Kevin felt heard. He shared every detail. Active listening plus this phrase deepened our conversation. Step 7. Use it to avoid misunderstandings and gain confidence. Once, I thought my coworker Megan said we had to finish by Friday. I asked, "What do you mean by finish? Just the report or the presentation too?" She clarified both tasks. I completed the work correctly. This saved time and stress. Clarifying builds trust and self-assurance. Step 8. Try to ask this phrase in your next English chat or class. In my weekly English class with teacher Sarah, I made it a goal to ask at least one clarifying question. I raised my hand and said, "What do you mean by using simple past tense here?" The class paused, and Sarah explained with examples. My classmates seemed to appreciate the deeper discussion too. Step 9. Expand vocabulary by listening to others' explanations. Every time you ask this question, listen and note new words. When my friend Alex explained sustainable fashion, he used words like eco-friendly and carbon footprint. I wrote them down. Later, I used those words in my own sentences. This step turns one question into a rich learning moment. Step 10. Use this phrase daily to build conversational fluency. I set a timer on my phone for 3 times a day. Whenever someone spoke to me, on the phone, in person, or online, I tried to use "What do you mean by?" at least once. Over time, my fear of misunderstanding faded. Conversations flowed smoothly. I felt more in control and more engaged. By now, this phrase should feel like a natural part of your toolkit. It helps you listen better, speak with clarity, and learn new words along the way. Remember, practice makes perfect. The more you use, "What do you mean by?" the more confident and fluent you'll become. Chapter 4, Phrase 3. That sounds interesting because when I first used this phrase, I was talking with my friend Emily about her hobby of painting. She described a new style she saw online. I smiled and said, "That sounds interesting because I love colors that pop." Emily's eyes lit up. She went on to show me her latest work. This simple phrase helped me share my opinion and keep the chat full of energy. You can use "That sounds interesting because" in many situations. At a team meeting, you might say to your coworker Mark, "That sounds interesting because it could save us time." Mark will feel heard and appreciated. With a new friend like Sarah, you could say, "That sounds interesting because I have never tried rock climbing." She might invite you to join her next trip. In a classroom, you could tell your teacher, "That sounds interesting because I enjoy learning about history." This shows you are engaged and curious. Try these steps to make the phrase part of your daily talk. Choose a topic you like. Think of something your friend or colleague mentions. Listen closely. Pick up on why they enjoy it or what makes it special. Use the phrase and add your reason. For example, "That sounds interesting because I love trying new recipes." Ask a follow-up question. You could ask, "How did you learn that skill?" Or, "Where can I see more examples?" Smile and show your excitement. Your tone and body language make a big difference. I practiced this with my colleague, David. He talked about a conference he attended. I said, "That sounds interesting because I want to learn more about those speakers." David shared his notes and even sent me a link to watch the talks. By using the phrase and giving a reason, I showed real interest, and I learned a lot. Over 1 week, I made a list of 10 things people around me liked. Each day, I picked 2 and used the phrase to respond. Sometimes it was about food, like, "That sounds interesting because I love spicy dishes." Other times, it was about travel, like, "That sounds interesting because I have never been to Japan." Each time, the conversation grew deeper and my confidence grew too. Now it's your turn. Today, listen for something new someone says. Then respond with, "That sounds interesting because," and add your own reason. Notice how people open up more when they feel you care. This phrase will help you speak with warmth and confidence, making your English feel natural and friendly. Chapter 5, Phrase 4. Can you tell me more about? One afternoon, I was chatting with my neighbor, Olivia, about her weekend getaway. I realized I wanted to know every detail. So I asked, "Can you tell me more about the hiking trail you chose?" Olivia's face brightened, and she painted a vivid picture of winding paths and hidden waterfalls. That simple phrase unlocked her story. And mine, you can use, "Can you tell me more about?" in many places. At a networking event, ask a speaker, "Can you tell me more about your career path?" They will share valuable advice. With a friend like Carlos, you might say, "Can you tell me more about that new book you love?" He'll geek out over characters and plot twists. In a class, try, "Can you tell me more about how photosynthesis works?" Your teacher will dive into science with you. Here's how I practiced. Choose what interests you. When someone mentions a topic, give it your full attention. Use the phrase with warmth. A friendly tone makes people comfortable. Listen and take notes. I kept a small notebook in my purse to jot down new details, summarize, and repeat. After they speak, I'd say, "So you walked 7 miles and saw deer?" This shows you care and helps you remember. Thank them. A simple "Thank you for sharing" goes a long way. I remember asking my colleague Jenna about her art exhibition. "Can you tell me more about the inspiration behind your paintings?" She explained her childhood memories and dreams. I scribbled notes and later sent her a message saying how much I enjoyed her story. That follow-up strengthened our friendship. Over 1 week, I set a small goal. Ask, "Can you tell me more about?" at least 3 times each day. Sometimes it was about work projects, sometimes about hobbies. Each time, I learned something new and felt more connected. My listening skills improved, and so did my English. Now, find someone to talk to today. Ask, "Can you tell me more about?" and add what you really want to know. Notice how the conversation grows richer and how your confidence in English soars. Chapter 6, Phrase 5. I see what you mean, but agreeing and disagreeing politely is a delicate art. I learned this when debating with my friend, Marcus, about the best pizza place in town. He said Pepperwood was the best. I nodded and replied, "I see what you mean, but I prefer Olive Garden pizza because their crust is thinner." Marcus laughed and shared his reasons too. We both felt respected and heard. You can use, "I see what you mean, but," to express your view while valuing the other person's idea. In a meeting, say to your boss, "I see what you mean, but could we adjust the deadline based on our workload?" She'll appreciate your thoughtfulness. With a classmate like Priya, you might say, "I see what you mean, but what if we tried a different presentation style?" In a family discussion, try, "I see what you mean, but I think we should also consider budget." Follow these steps to practice. Listen fully. Let the person finish before you speak. Acknowledge their point. "I see what you mean" shows respect. Add your view. Use "but" to gently introduce your idea. Offer a reason. Explain why you think differently. Invite collaboration. Ask, "What do you think?" to keep teamwork alive. I tried this with my study group at university. When someone suggested a research topic, I said, "I see what you mean, but our timeline might be tight. Could we scale it down?" They agreed, and we chose a manageable topic. The project went smoothly, and everyone felt valued. For the next week, aim to use "I see what you mean, but" in 2 conversations each day. Practice with a friend or in front of a mirror. Notice how you can share your thoughts clearly without causing offense. This phrase will boost your confidence and show your respect for others. Chapter 7, Bonus Tips for Using Phrases to Boost Fluency. By now, you have 5 powerful phrases. Here are a few extra tips to weave them into everyday life. Combine phrases. Try. How do you feel about? Can you tell me more about? This builds longer, more engaging sentences. Record yourself regularly. Listening back helps you spot tiny improvements and areas to polish. Join language groups or clubs. When you practice with others, you hear these phrases in action and gain feedback. Use technology. Apps, language exchanges, and podcasts give you real-world examples and extra practice time. Be patient and consistent. Fluency grows with steady steps. A little practice each day beats long sessions once in a while. Remember, every conversation is an opportunity to practice. Keep a small checklist on your phone. Tick off each phrase every time you use it. In a month, you'll see how far you've come. Conclusion. Let's recap the journey we've taken. How do you feel about? Invite opinions and deepen conversations. What do you mean by clarify meaning and learn new words? That sounds interesting because share reasons and show genuine interest. Can you tell me more about encourage longer stories and active listening? I see what you mean, but disagree politely and express your thoughts. You've also learned bonus tips. Combine phrases, record yourself, join groups, use apps, and stay consistent. Fluency isn't a finish line. It's a journey of daily practice and small wins. Every time you speak, you grow stronger. Every time you listen, you learn more. Now, it's your turn. Which phrase will you use first today? Leave a comment or tell a friend. Remember, practice makes progress. Keep speaking, keep listening, and keep believing in yourself. Thank you for joining me on this adventure. Keep going, and I can't wait to hear about your progress. What step will you take right now to boost your fluency?